Coen brothers' body of work is incredibly varied, ranging from cold-blooded thrillers to more light-hearted black comedies, and somewhere within the spectrum lies Inside Llewyn Davis. Despite embodying the grittiness and the dystopian notion their films commonly lend themselves to, this fine study proves to expand the diversity of their filmography. What struck me the most when watching Inside Llewyn Davis was the expressiveness of the use of singing, a method of storytelling quite atypical for the Coens, yet put to great effect here. The story told is a snippet of the life of the struggling folk artist Llewyn Davis, portrayed by Oscar Isaac, taking place during a cold winter in New York City in the 60s. As for many artists, their lives really bear two different facets. One which shows them carrying out their craft, and the other which depicts them detached from it. Although Llewyn sings only sparingly in the film, there is nonetheless a stark contrast between the coarse facets of his character. The Llewyn who sings and the one who doesn't. The former projects his vulnerabilities, sorrows and desires, not necessarily through the lyrics of the songs, but rather through the act of singing itself.
When I go back Baltimore, need no carpet on my floor. Come along and follow me, we'll go down to Galilee. Everybody!
It's his way of submitting himself to the audience, telling us and the people, this is what I want and this is what I love. In this state, his character is much more accessible. What would merely be sympathy for his talent turns into empathy for his character, as the strength of longing echoes with every verse and every pluck of the guitar strings. The latter, the Llewyn we see unattached from his guitar, doesn't show the same tenderness, dedication and warmth. He is, in fact, somewhat the direct opposite. Uncaring, brash and indecisive, Llewyn meanders and stumbles through life as though he's pulled away from the inner sanctuary he has formed and shaped with his singing. And in many ways, this is certainly the case. He is put up against several antagonistic forces, one of which manifests as the ever-changing music industry, who is driven by monetary interests rather than genuine musical interests.
I don't see a lot of money here.
Folk music, as he knows it, is no longer welcomed, and neither is he as a solo performer. Though this is merely an external hindrance, a contradictory element. As Robert McKee puts it, a story that progresses to the limit of human experience in depth and breadth of conflict must move through a pattern that includes the contrary, the contradictory, and the negation of the negation. A film that attempts to study a character must traverse beyond what is solely a contradiction to his desires. At last, the chief antagonist has to be inevitably diverted back inside the character itself. Llewyn isn't able to leave behind his partner's tragic death. He sings their old songs, thinking performing them alone now leads to the success then. This haunting ghost makes his life miserable, yet he does nothing to vanquish it. I would go as far as to say he has already assimilated his ghost. It's now a part of him, hence he is unaware of his misery, ignorant of what's prohibiting him. What's interesting is how the music in the film sways the perception of Llewyn's journey. It may paint the tragedy less gruesome as it really is, seeing the character of Llewyn at least be able to do what he loves, but at the same time it may worsen it, knowing that doing what he loves won't ultimately take him far. I personally find the act of performing most unburdening, enriching and valuable, regardless of the outcome, regardless of how much money it generates. The film rightfully deserves its title, for it delves deep into its protagonist, not only with regards to substance, but also in terms of the medium's other aspects, such as cinematography.
Oh boy, I've been all around this world.
Bruno Delbonnel's work is testament to the flexibility of the Coen brothers, who don't entirely rely on their longtime cinematography collaborator Roger Deakins to render their films visually striking. Despite the choice of hard lighting many scenes and achieving the corresponding harshness of the shadows, the light yet bears ever so often a clear softness, a certain tenderness, eliciting a feeling of utmost intimacy and providing a surreal quality. The prevalent shadows, however, are here to remind you that this might not be as blithesome as you expect or hope it to be. Although Inside Llewyn Davis is overall a bleak tale, I couldn't help but to perceive it as somewhat soothing. It's a tragedy, but one that doesn't come with lots of noise and melodrama. It really is somewhat a tender tragedy.
Early one morning, drizzling rain, and in my heart I felt a naked